Hey everybody, we're just about ready to start the webinar here. We're going to wait for a few more folks to join us, but we'll get started in about a minute or two. Let's go ahead and get started here. Hello and welcome to our webinar on the best practices for the project and portfolio management journey. My name is Neil Mefford and I'll be your moderator for today's session. In today's webinar, we will cover three topics. First, we want to give you a quick overview of Kovac and why we are uniquely positioned to be your partner for a ServiceNow PPM implementation. Second, we want to give you an overview of the ServiceNow PPM suite. And third, we will build on what was covered in our webinar 1 by demonstrating how to set up detailed project plans, templates, and portfolios in ServiceNow. The ServiceNow PPM suite is a set of powerful tools that can help transform your organization's PMO. But starting with too much change too fast can cause severe organizational heartburn and worse, stop a PMO transformation in its tracks almost as fast as a lack of sponsorship. Today we will continue to expand on our recommended approach for a ServiceNow PPM implementation, the journey if you will. Before we get started, let me introduce the team. As I previously mentioned, my name is Neil Mefford and I will be your host for today's webinar. My role at Covestic is Director for Client Delivery, and I have over 20 years of industry experience specializing in software development and systems integration projects, as well as helping companies establish sound demand management, project management, and portfolio management processes. Joining me today is Lynne Reynolds, who will provide you with an overview and demo of the ServiceNow Project and Portfolio Management Suite. Lynn has over 18 years of public and private IT industry experience, including project and vendor management, and over 11 years of ITSM process design, process improvement, and delivery experience. Lynn is ITIL Foundations, PMP, and Scrum Master certified, as well as a certified ServiceNow implementation specialist. As we go through today's session, if you have any questions regarding what is being presented, please feel free to type your question into the question box located on your screen. We'll do our best to answer questions at the end of the session, but if for some reason we are unable to get to all of the questions, we will follow up via email. Also, the contents of this webinar will be posted on the Kovac website at www.kovac.com. Feel free to review and share with other members of your organization who were unable to attend today's session. With that, let's get started. Kovac is a full-service consulting firm and Silver ServiceNow partner headquartered in Kirkland, Washington. We employ over 200 senior level consultants averaging 15+ years of professional consulting and IT operations experience, and have been delivering service management solutions since 2001. Covestic's expertise is organized into 3 practice areas. Our IT operations services practice focuses on developing, standardizing, and operating IT operations functions including cloud and enterprise infrastructure, security operations, applications administration, and operations build and run. Our project delivery services practice focuses on providing project leadership to deliver complex IT solutions. Covestic experience in project management ensures compliance, quality, and milestones aligned to our clients' lifecycle practices. Finally, our IT service management practice focuses on assessing, defining, and implementing optimized IT service management solutions, with ServiceNow being our only service management solution partnership. With over 100 successful ServiceNow projects, Kovac is a unique partner in that we combine deep ServiceNow platform expertise with a specialized practice area focused on creating PPM solutions and project delivery. Our people-first practical approach and guidance to projects have allowed us to achieve an average CSAT score of 9 and hundreds of clients like you see here who love us. With that, I will now turn the webinar over to Lynn to talk to you about the ServiceNow PPM Suite and Kovac's recommendations for continuing your PPM journey and provide you with a live demo of part 2 of this transformation. Lynn?
Thank you, Neil. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. So what you see on screen is a high-level view of ServiceNow's IT Business Management Suite. It consists of 8 applications focused on making organizations more competitive and innovative. ServiceNow Project Portfolio Management aligns project investments and consolidates resources and project data into a single system. This allows organizations to plan strategically and improve the effectiveness of their project management activities. Being a part of the ServiceNow IT Business Management portfolio enables a seamless and end-to-end process for initiating project requests and balancing the project portfolio. It also gives organizations a single system to track ITSM and PPM work and allows you to spend more time getting value from your tools rather than time learning how to use your tools. Covestic recommends approaching the PPS suite in a phased manner. On screen, you see our recommended 3-phase approach to evolve the PPS suite to get your business to a fully functioning portfolio managed organization, which incorporates operational costs and enterprise resource demands. How far you evolve the platform and which elements are activated is ultimately up to you and based on your business needs. So the goals of phase 1 are to collect ideas and demand from the organization, have a repeatable way to decision demand, and to create a portfolio of projects with enough information to support executive reporting. The goals of phase 2 of our recommended journey are to introduce program management as another means of classifying and organizing projects, introduce agile development and to distinguish between agile and waterfall phases, and to fully understand how to build and track detailed project schedules and understand how to begin individual project status reporting. The activities in phase 3 close the loop on project budgets, cost tracking, resource planning, and allocation across project and non-project work and time tracking. So our first PPM webinar covered capturing ideas from the business for potential new projects, decisioning ideas and creating demand records, adding key information to the demand record to support prioritizing and qualifying demands, creating projects from approved demands, adding waterfall, agile, or test phases and key milestones to a new project, and building a project portfolio and associated project records with the portfolio. This webinar picks off where the first one left off, creating the project plan in more detail via imports and data entry, building project schedules and examining project calculation settings, looking at project phases, waterfall, agile, test, with an emphasis on agile development sprints, building project task relationships and managing the WBS, setting a baseline, creating templates from projects and refining existing templates, copying all or part of a project, adding projects to programs, and turning on status reporting. So with all that, let's get started. All right. Neil, can you see my screen?
I can. It looks great.
Okay, fantastic. So I have logged in as Diana Temple, who is a project portfolio manager. First thing we want to do is take a look at the entire project application in ServiceNow. So over on the left, I have the project application and all of the associated modules within the project application. The project application consists of portfolio management, program management, project tasks, Agile, and settings, which is primarily used by system admins to customize projects. There's also a Getting Started link, which links to ServiceNow's product documentation, as well as a CIO roadmap, which is a visualization of projects along a time horizon. And then the PMO dashboard, which you see on screen, which is a configurable dashboard that captures key statistics about all the projects across the portfolio. So let's dive in. There are three primary ways to create a new project. You can import one from Microsoft Project, you can build one from scratch, or you can copy an existing ServiceNow project. We will explore all three methods in this webinar. First, let's start by importing a Microsoft Project file into ServiceNow. This is the Microsoft Project file that I intend to import. You'll see it has a duration of 86 days, note the start date, the finish date. We have some phase level activities, some subphase activities, individual project activities, project interdependencies, and project task durations. So to import this file into ServiceNow, I will go to the project module and go to import. I'm going to navigate to my project file that we just examined. You have the option of importing the file into ServiceNow as a standalone project, and you can also import this file into an existing project. Now I'll click import. All right. So here's the file that we just imported. So you'll see that the project name has been carried over. We have an auto-generated unique project number. The state is in a pending state, and the calculation value is set to automatic. We'll talk a little bit more about calculation settings in a second. You'll notice that the schedule is set to the project management schedule. This is the default ServiceNow project management schedule. It is a basic 8 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule with a built-in lunch period, and it does not include holidays. You always have the option of creating your own project schedule or schedules and associating individual projects with those. Now I'm going to click on the planning console to go and examine the project file details. Kovac recommends using the planning console to really look at the WBS structure and add and remove tasks, and the project workbench for adding and removing phases as well as milestones. Here we go. So it shows up collapsed. I'm just going to expand a few sections out here. So you see that the start date, the finish date, the duration. the WBS structure, as well as the phase level activities, interdependencies, and task durations have all come in as part of the import. You can also see that your Gantt off to the right has been populated, so you have a visual representation of the schedule as well. So that's way to create a project number one. Now let's go to create new. So I'm back over here on the left underneath project. I'm going to click on the create new button. Now, you have the option of either going ahead and creating this project on your own, typing in specific values, or you also can apply a template. Before I apply my template, I would like to talk a little bit about the calculation settings. So as I mentioned, we've got automatic. We also have manual. ServiceNow has those two methods of calculating project progress. Manual calculation means that updates to the project schedule are not calculated automatically, and dates on phases do not automatically reflect any changes from dependent and child tasks. Task start and finish dates will need to be managed by you. New projects created from the project workbench are set to manual calculation by default, but they can be changed to automatic. Automatic calculation means, just like it sounds, any updates to the project schedule are calculated automatically and governed by the relationships between the activities. New projects created by importing a file or by applying a template are set to automatic by default. And you can change it to manual, or you can change it off of automatic up until you save the project. Automatic is the method you should use to take advantage of the project scheduling engine. So let's apply our template. I'm going to give our new project a name. I'm going to go ahead and let it default to today's start date. Going to select that template and then hit OK. So you'll notice some things that happen. We've got the project name that we just typed in. The project manager has been set as Diana Simple. That came over as part of the template. So you can use templates, project assignments if you wish. Comes in with a default description. Again, it's set to a pending state. It has not been started yet. The calculation setting is set to automatic, and that's grayed out, so it cannot be changed since it came in from the template. It's using the project management schedule. We see it's got tomorrow's start date and a planned end date that is driven by the duration of the activities within the template. So now, let's associate our new project with a portfolio. We're going to choose the IT operations portfolio. You also have the ability to associate projects with programs. Now, my program choices are going to be limited to those programs associated with the portfolio. So now the template has created phases within the WBS, but let's see how to add a new phase. I'm going to right mouse click and save the project. And then I'm going to go to the project workbench. Now this is where I can add phases by type. You'll see the phases that have come in with the project template. If I click the plus sign, I have the ability to add additional phases. And I have three types of phases that I can add. I can add a waterfall phase, which allows me to add project tasks. I can add an agile phase, which allows me to add user stories as part of Agile and Scrum. And I have a test phase that I can use to associate test plans and test cases with this project file. So for the purposes of this demonstration, let's go ahead and add a new waterfall task. and I'm going to call it customer demos. I'm going to give it a start date of, let's put it out in here, out into August. And we'll give it a 5-day duration and hit submit. So we've got our customer demos phase here kind of during configuration that allows us to add some additional activities to show the work that happens for those customer demos. Now I'm going to go to the planning console. If I click this drop-down arrow, this arrow next to Project Workbench, I have the ability to create a new project, which again will create a new project in a manual calculation setting. And I can also toggle over to the planning console. And that's what we'll do. So now, I've got my customer demo phase that I just added. You'll notice these arrows up at the top. I can use this arrow to actually place my phase elsewhere in the WPS. I'm going to use that to move them up. And then I also have these other icons that allow me to add tasks above and below this activity. So I'm going to add a task below customer demo. And we will call this one demo number 1. And I'm going to indent it, which subordinates it to the phase activity. And then I'm going to add a second task below that one and call it demo number 2. And now I have the ability to put a dependency in between these two activities. So I will just do that. So you'll notice this has created dependency between demo number 1 and demo number 2. You'll see this reflected both on the Gantt chart as well as in the dates. All right, so once I'm happy with my overall project plan, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the actual project record. So once I'm happy with my overall plan, I have the ability to take a baseline of my plan. And I can do that in a couple of ways. I can either click the Create Baseline down at from the related links at the bottom of the form, or I can go to the Baselines Related list and click the Create Baseline button here. So I will create a new baseline here. We will call it Project Review Board Approval. So team members with the IT project manager role are able to baseline projects, and nested projects cannot have baselines. Baselines are only allowed for top-level projects. So now that we have created a baseline, and you'll see that newly created baseline down here in our related list, let's talk a little bit about states. So you'll notice that the project is still in a pending state. As soon as I start the project, it's going to move to work in progress. And then once all the activities are completed, it will move to close complete. You have a couple of other closed states that you can use to show closure of a different nature. You also have open available to project managers to use, perhaps to use while a project is either in a planning state or kind of pre-started. If I close all of the project activities, the project closes. Likewise, if I close the project, all the project activities close. All right, so I'm going to start my project now. you'll notice that the state has flipped from pending to work in progress. So let's just say that our project is underway. I've held my requirements gathering session, I've collected my user stories, I've performed sprint planning, and I've associated my stories with sprints. I'm going to go to the planning console. And here I have an agile phase created called configuration within my project plan. I know it's an agile phase by virtue of this icon. If I click on the configuration agile phase, I'll get this little pop-out screen. And from here, I have the ability to add or associate sprints with this phase. So I can do this from the sprint-related list on the pop-out screen. I've got a couple of sprints created that I will bring over. And if I open up one of these sprints, I'll see the stories that are associated with that sprint as well. Okay. Likewise, I have a testing phase here in my project schedule. And I know it's a testing phase, again, because of this icon. If I open up the testing phase, I get, again, another pop-out screen. And in this view, this allows me to associate test plans and test cases with this testing phase. If you have standard test plans, say for common releases or upgrades that you do all the time, this is where you can associate those common test plans. But if you need to create a new test case specific to this endeavor, you can do it right here from this related list. So here, if I go down to test cases and I click new, I have the ability to, again, create a new test case, associate it with a test plan, and have that recorded as a part of the testing phase. So I'm back in the planning console. The next thing I want to do is I want to adjust a couple of dates. So let's say we are going to move our go live out a little bit. We're going to shift the start date out by a couple of weeks. Okay. So if I go to the little three dots, the ellipse up here, I have the ability to show my baseline. Remember the baseline we just created a little while ago. So I have the ability to show my baseline as compared to the current plan. So the baseline is a little hard to see on screen, but it shows up as this light gray line. And then the current plan shows up as the blue bars. So here we can see what the original date of that go live was versus what it is today. Yeah. All right, there's one last way to create a new project in ServiceNow. I'm going to take one of the projects that we've been working on and create a copy. So if I right mouse click up in the top of the project record, I have the option to either copy the entire project or copy a part of the project. In this case, I'm going to copy the entire project. Another handy feature is also the task creator. If you were building out your WBS structure as an option other than the planning console, you can actually insert tasks using the task creator and also define them as either sequenced or linked or not linked. All right. So I've now created a copy of the original project as a new project. And again, it's brought over the title that I just typed in. It's honored the start date, the planned duration that comes from the task, the duration of the task, as well as the task interdependencies. Let's go back to the project that we baselined here. And let's just say it's status report day. And I want to create a weekly status report for my project. If I go to the status report tab, I have the ability to create a new status report for this project. When I click the new button, you'll see specific pieces of the project information are brought over. The title of the project or the name of the project manager that's assigned, the current start date or the planned start date, plan end date, when the project actually started, if it has been started, the unique ID. All of these things are brought over to the status report record so you don't have to retype them. I'm going to pick a status date. We'll say Friday. Friday's a really good day for status reports. And we've got 5 tabs: overall status, schedule, cost, resources, and scope, that allows you to specify particular information about this project. So overall status, as the project manager, I can, it's a bit subjective, but I can say, yes, my project's on track, or it's in danger, no, it's not on track, by choosing green, yellow, or red. I have the ability to put in an executive summary, additional comments, list out achievements, and upcoming activities. That's the first tab. The second tab, again, I have that green, yellow, red option around schedule, and I can explain why I picked the color that I picked, and then so forth across cost, resources, and scope. And then whenever I'm happy with the report, I simply click Submit. And I am actually going to go to a status report that I picked, that I created a moment ago, or on another day. So this project status report can be exported. All status reports can be exported to PDF, and so they can be either printed or mailed if you need a hard copy or a mailable copy to go to project executives. And then likewise, if you're in this view of all status reports, it also gives you a nice overall view of overall project status across the different 5 areas, from project to project, project status to project status. Go back to my project here. The last thing I wanted to show you is, if this is a type of project that I do quite often and I want to turn it into a template, I have the option of taking the project and turning it into a template down here under related links by choosing Save as New Template. So when I do that, it's going to carry over specific information from my project into the template, such as the name, descriptions, the task activities, the interdependencies, all of those kinds of things. And then it's available for selection for the future, for future project managers to use. All right, so that concludes our webinar on how to build and manage detailed project plans within ServiceNow. With that, I'll turn it back over to Neil.
Thanks, Lynn. Hopefully today's demo allowed you to see the clear benefits of using the ServiceNow PPM suite. ServiceNow PPM can not only replace the spreadsheets you're using to track projects, but it can also be the one and only tool you use in your organization for both project and non-project work. Just a reminder, if you have a question for today's session, please submit it using the question box on your screen. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible, but should we run out of time, we'll follow up via email. If you'd like additional information about ServiceNow PPM or the topics covered in this webinar, please feel free to send us an email at servicenow@covestic.com. With that, let's get started with some questions. All right, Lynn, looks like I have a question here. The first one I have is, what do the colored dots or bullets represent in the planning console view of the project schedule?
Okay, Neil, assuming that you are talking about these little dots right here, the blue dots means that a task has a date constraint, such as it's set to start on a specific date or another type of task constraint. If there were a red dot would indicate something about the task, such as the task was late.
All right. Let's see. The next question we have is, when creating the project schedule, can you add dependencies at the phase level rather than the task level?
You can. You can add project or task dependencies between any types of tasks, and those dependencies will be honored as long as the task is unstarted. In other words, if the phase is not started, I can put a dependency between one phase and another, and it will adjust the date only if it's not yet been started.
Excellent. All right, we have another question here on statuses. Are the health statuses in the status reporting interrelated to one another?
That's an awesome question. The health statuses, the red and the green and yellow, are completely subjective. So a PM can pick any of the health statuses that are available. You do have the option of configuring rules, programming rules behind those statuses. The change management module of ServiceNow uses something very similar for risk calculations, where essentially the change requester answers a set of questions. Those questions have numeric values on the back end, and they drive a risk score. You could take a similar approach here and actually have a set of questions that the project manager is answering, and that drives those colors or drives other kinds of values. But out of box, it's simply a pick list of a basic red, green, and yellow, and it's up to PM to pick the value that best represents the project.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's jump over to one on templates here. When saving a project as a template, does the project need to be in a closed status, or can you do it anytime?
You can save a project as a template anytime during the project lifecycle. It does not have to be closed.
All right, well, dovetailing to that on the template one, what pieces of the project are added to a template?
So we saw a little bit of this a moment ago, but the tasks, the task relationships, the durations, the project manager, again, kind of the overall structure of the WDS and the overall timeline is brought over as a template.
Fantastic. Let's see here. Just looking through. Next one we got here is on portfolios. Can a project be in more than one portfolio?
Yes. A project can be in more than one portfolio, but only one portfolio will be displayed on the project form.
All right. Looks like we got a couple more questions here. Is there a place to capture project notes on the project record?
There are a couple things on the project record. You have a notes tab. There are also related lists for risks and issues, as well as, so we have the regular notes that come with pretty much any task type inside ServiceNow, and adding notes to this area actually adds it to the overall log or the diary of this particular record, and you can see all of that in all of the updates that are made to this record if they're added there throughout the life cycle of the lifespan of the project. And then likewise, you have risks and issues available to you to capture more specific and reportable information.
Fantastic. All right, I have one on project states here. Are project states configurable?
They are. You want to take care with that, though. For those of you who may be using ServiceNow, states drive a lot of functionality on the back end. So you do want to be careful when you're making adjustments to states because they are hardwired to kind of the functionality of the tool. But you can absolutely suppress states, hide states you don't want to see or you'll never use, add additional states. It's all completely configurable. You just want to take care when doing it.
Great. Well, fantastic. Well, I think that's all the questions that I've seen come in so far, Lynn. So let's go ahead and move on here. We want to thank everybody for joining us. That'll conclude today's session. We do ask that you keep an eye out and a reminder that we will have additional upcoming webinars in the future. So thank you for joining us, and that concludes today's webinar.
Thanks, everyone.